Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, and at last another live stream. About 6 days since we last live streamed, and a lot has happened since then. I think since last time we spoke, we had that result against Chelsea, and more importantly, that performance against Chelsea, a game where I thought we played quite well. We can talk about that. Then we had whatever that was at the weekend against Bournemouth. We can talk about that if you guys want to, or we can avoid it. And now we've got this team, Bayern Munich in the Champions League at Old Trafford, where simply Manchester United have to win to have any chance of staying in the best competition in the world, certainly in club football. So it's a big night for Erik Ten Hag. It's a big night for Manchester United. There is a mountain to climb here. United currently sit bottom of the group. There is only one way United go through. That is to beat Bayern and for Copenhagen and Galatasaray to draw. Will it happen? We'll discuss it. How can it happen? We'll discuss it. Of course, we'll look at tactics. We'll discuss... Oh, that's the wrong thing. We'll discuss Erik Ten Hag. We'll discuss the lot. But before that, get in chat and let me know how you guys are doing. Codename FP, Matt, good to see you guys. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a good day. First things first, how are you feeling going into this game? Are we on an optimistic vibe today? Or is it a little bit downbeat after the weekend? Let me know how we're feeling. Let me know how we're feeling. Let me just move the chat as well so I can talk to you guys properly. How are we feeling about this one? Do we want to win? As stupid as it sounds, obviously we do, but would we rather, Europa League? Would you rather no Europe or Europa League? Let me know what you think. Can we win this game? How good are Bayern? How strong are Bayern going to be? Who are the most important players going to be for United tonight? Who are the big standout threats really for Bayern? Let me know what you think. AJ, hear me out. I do think we need to win. I agree. I think we need to win. I think... If you asked me in previous weeks about the whole, would I rather drop into Europa League or completely drop out of European football, I would have said drop out completely. The more I think about it, the more I think perhaps Europa League. But I'm not sure. Lincoln's saying I'd be happy with Europa. It gives us a chance to beat Liverpool. That's definitely one way of looking at it. I quite like that view. Because the problem is, right, if we go out of Europe completely tonight, there's no guarantee that we're going to be back anytime soon with how competitive the Premier League is this season. You got Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Villa, Newcastle, all look better than us. So that's 5 teams. But there's other teams we're competing with as well. There's a chance we could finish 7th this season. We don't really want to be looking at Conference League next year, do we? That's not really what we want. Our best route back into at least a good standard of European football next season is to win a European competition this year. Or perhaps an FA Cup or something, but that's still just going to put us in the Europa League. So I do think we might need to win this game, regardless of the Champions League future, which, as we've said already, does look pretty ropey. I'll cover the stats behind how difficult this is in just a minute. I'm just going to read through chat and see what you guys are saying, see how we're doing. Congrats on 21k subs. Thank you very much. Thank you to you guys. Congrats to you guys, actually. You guys are the ones which have got the channel to grow this big, so good shit. Did I just swear? My bad. Matt saying, normally I'd say no Europa, but to be honest, using it to try some different lineups and tactics maybe could be useful. It's that weird balance of, do we want Europa potentially as, a way to play different players into form, or would we rather just not have it and have more rest? Corey, mate, good to see you. Hope you're well. VK, good to see you, mate. Win is a big boost, and a team has to go 110% out for it. Anything could happen, by the way. Galatasaray and Copenhagen in the other game. Yeah, I'm going to come on to that in just 1 second. All depends how much of a write-off you think the season is already. It's not a write-off yet. Question is, does crashing out of Europe give us better conditioning for the season? Arguably. It gives us more training ground time and things like that. Corey, mate, good to see you. Hi, it's me. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Ronaldo, good to see you. Madu, good to see you. If Galatasaray wins, what does that mean? If Galatasaray win, United are out of the Champions League. If we were also to win, we would probably go into Europa League as one of those third-place teams. A certain amount of the third-place teams get kicked out of the Champions League, but go into a qualifying round, I believe it is, in Europa League. So United can win tonight and go through in the Champions League, or win tonight and go to the Europa League. If we lose tonight, we're just out regardless. The squad is too big to not be in Europe. That is a very fair point in terms of keeping people happy with their minutes. AJ, what are your takes on Man United supposedly happy to sell Varane, Casemiro, Sancho, Donny and Martial in January? None of the names particularly surprise me. In terms of January, we will not see that sort of mass exit. We might see Sancho plus one other, but I think it's unlikely. I think Sancho, Donny van de Beek will probably leave in January. I don't see anyone else leaving. I think United should take the hit, finish fourth, and clear the players. And clear the players you don't want or need out of the door. Let me just move this 1 second. Anyway, I have a stat here on just how difficult this situation is. So like I've said, physically the only way United can go through in the Champions League tonight is to beat Bayern Munich and for Copenhagen and Galatasaray to draw. So how difficult is that? Bayern have not lost a Champions League group stage game in 39 matches. What? That's a crazy record. So that's difficult enough. But also, of the 18 times in the Champions League, 2 teams have gone head-to-head on the last day or the last match of the group, Copenhagen and Galatasaray, on the same amount of points. That has happened 18 times. When that has happened, there's only been a draw once, which of course is the exact result United need. This is a mountain to climb, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer once said. But, as he said, mountains are there to be climbed. We might be able to get there. VK, thank you very much for the donation, guys. Make sure to spam some love hearts in the chat, saying I'm good, AJ. Love to hear that. If only Ten Hag have a box defender that also able to push backline 10 yards further up, an experienced player and bonus if he had won the Champions League before. Especially if he'd won it a few times, right? Yeah, if only we had someone who ticked those boxes. Especially if he wore like number 19 on his shirt or something as well. That'd be great. But thank you very much for the donation, guys. VK, sorry. Guys, make sure to spam the love hearts in the chat. I want to see love hearts flying in. Members especially. Spam love hearts. 9% chance of qualification, 91% faith. I like those odds. Backs to the wall. Just got to go beat them. See what happens. Good to see you, Dimitri, mate. I hope you're well. We are not consistent, to say the least. Yeah, I think the last 6 days sums that up quite nicely. We can be a world beater one match and beat a relegation team the next. Pretty fair assessment. McTominay and Bruno, that lineup is always going to be inconsistent and 0 ball retention. I think ball retention has improved a little bit recently, but I agree with the whole inconsistent idea, absolutely. Corey saying, I don't even think we are good. If Copenhagen had scored the penalty, we'd already be out. Yeah, we should be out of this group. Like, obviously we were several goals up in several games, but when you throw away those leads, we don't deserve to be in this competition still. AJ, I've seen you suggesting that Ten Hag should instruct another midfielder to stay a bit closer to the defensive line for more defensive cover, but would that hamper our chances of creating overloads? That's a good question, not one I've been asked. We'll cover that shortly if you like. If you keep that question when we're on the tactical board, or like when we talk about the midfield and things, yeah, bring that question back and I'll try to answer it. AJ, since McSauce is on press, most likely he will play. Does look that way, but we'll discuss perhaps how you could use him. Who knows? Might be another McGhost on the pitch. Yay. Why do the players keep apologising for inconsistent results, yet still not put in efforts? Onana should be benched. With the whole effort thing, I think actually we have seen the players playing for the manager in the past couple of games. I think Newcastle was bad, and certain players were a little bit lazy, namely Rashford and Martial. I think the last 2 games, despite not, always performing great and being inconsistent, I think we have seen effort. I wouldn't knock the players' work rate at the weekend. Their ability and maybe their intelligence, yeah. But I wouldn't knock the work rate of the players in the last 2 games. I think that idea of players not backing the manager and throwing the toys out the pram, I think they've kind of got rid of that. I think they've shut that up almost in the last 2 games. I think, like I said, it's the ability and the intelligence, which is more of the issue, as FP has said there. Players are putting in effort, they lack tactical intelligence. I think that's a very fair point. By the way, guys, my members, you will notice that some of you have now got a blue badge if you've been a member for 2 months. Or this is your 2nd month of being a member. So thank you very much for you guys who have renewed your membership. That badge is going to keep upgrading the longer you are a member. And also, I'm going to make some more custom emojis soon. Like the stream, guys. Excellent point. Like the stream. Also, share it. We ain't got many views in here yet. But people will come, I'm sure. Again, I think also people are just a little bit sad about the club at the moment. So I don't want to watch United content. But hey-ho. Please play with 2 DMs. We'll come on to that, Josh. McTominay is Ten Hag's new golden boy. Funny he tried to sell him in the summer, and now McTominay is the key reason he's comfortable right now. I feel like we have a McTominay conundrum, which we'll touch on today. I've got a video on it coming out in a couple of days. Basically, what I mean by that is if you play McTominay, you're going to get goals. He seems to be the only player which can actually find the back of the net. So you're going to score more goals. But you lose so much else in possession, which is a massive downer again. So it's like, do you put him in for the goals, but a bad performance? Or do you put a better performer in, but then where do our goals come from? Who knows? Looks like Ten Hag has gotten rid of that player issue in regards to players throwing him under the bus. So I guess they back the project. Yeah, I think obviously maybe someone like Jadon Sancho, we're not sure what's going on there and that sort of thing. And I think Marcus Rashford needs to, get on with it a little bit. I think he's maybe the one at the moment who's a bit frustrating in terms of work rate. He doesn't look like he's working for the manager truly. But yeah, I think like the 11 that we saw the other night, I think they all worked hard. And I think they were playing for the shirt, if you like. For the manager, don't know, but they were playing for the badge. Do you think our problems mostly boil down to the manager's tactics being just really flawed, or is it about the players being unable to execute his instructions on the field? I've been asked this quite a lot on Twitter, on YouTube, everywhere. I've been asked this question quite a bit, even on Discord as well, about the idea of who's to blame as such. I don't think it is all Ten Hag's fault, and I don't think it is all the players' fault. And I stand by that for the Bournemouth game, for the Newcastle game, in general. I don't think it is all either of them. I think the players do fail to execute certain good instructions from Ten Hag, but I also think at times Ten Hag gives bad instructions, which obviously leads to quite a nasty combination where things just go wrong. So, I don't think it's just the manager or just the players. I think it's a combination. Again, if we go back to it though, right, this is the starting 11 from the other day against Bournemouth. Obviously, it's a good starting 11, right? But if we're talking about Ten Hag, how many players here did he sign? Onana? Or sign on a permanent, I should say. Onana and Anthony. You're not going to get a true Ten Hag identity, are you, with 2 signings? To give him a bit of credit, I've been quite critical of Ten Hag recently. I think he deserves that criticism. I think he's getting a lot wrong. But we do have to look at that. 2 of these players in here are loans, so no idea if they're part of the long-term project. But Anthony and Onana are the proper, true, supposed Ten Hag players, which the club have fully backed. The rest of them are players from different managers, 2 of which were tried to sell, apparently, in the summer. So, I don't know, it's a weird one. We've gone away from fullbacks inverting into midfield. Our squad football IQ too low to let them make field decisions. Yeah, I completely agree with that first point. We've gone away from fullbacks inverting into midfield. I don't understand why. I thought that actually worked really nicely last season and gave us a real good solid base in a lot of different phases. We've just completely left that. Perhaps it's because of no Lisandro Martinez. Perhaps there's something from Licher in particular he likes, which allows the fullbacks to invert potentially. But yeah, we have kind of abandoned that idea, and I'm not too sure why. Please, let's stop with the players that he signed nonsense. It doesn't matter who he has signed or not. As a manager, your job is to create a system, and he hasn't. Yeah, like I said, I've been very critical of Ten Hag. All I'm saying is you're not going to see Ten Hag football, what we hope Ten Hag football is, until you have his signings in the squad. Trust me, I'm critical. He should get way more out of this team. I completely stand by that. So, yeah, I completely agree. I think the players that he signed thing isn't nonsense, right? It is a big part of some of the problems. At the same time, you're absolutely right. He has to do way more with this squad. This is a squad of good footballers. If we looked at the Bournemouth side that we played the other day, on paper, come on, there's night and day the quality of the 2 sides. So I do agree with that as well. What's the discussion here? Is this about Ten Hag throwing players under the bus? Sancho he did, I think. Sancho he did. Varane, I can't remember what he said on Rafael Varane, and you said about Casemiro as well. I can't think. Did he speak publicly on Casemiro and Varane? I can't really remember, I'll be honest with you. Tactics need to be looked at. 3-1-6 leaves the DM alone, and backline struggles to find passes in the midfield. Absolutely, and again, that is something I've called out as a real problem in the side. Chad, good to see you, mate. Hey, AJ, if Ten Hag gets sacked, would you keep your skincare routine the same? Now I'll probably change it a little bit. Corey, this isn't me questioning what you've said. I can't remember what he said on Casemiro and Varane in terms of calling people out. Oh yeah, with the Varane thing, he did comment on like the tactical issues, right? Yeah. I don't remember the Casemiro comment so much. Was that when Eriksen came on at half time and he said it's because we want to play football? In that case, yeah, I get what you're saying. That could be a mistranslation, I guess, maybe, but yeah, I do see your point on that one. Yeah, is that throwing a player under the bus? I don't know. It's difficult to say because obviously, because his like first language isn't English, we don't always know if that's literally exactly what he means. Does he mean like we don't know? If he does mean it's so we could play more football, then yeah, that's got to be a massive kick in the teeth for Casemiro. That's not what you want to hear as a player. You got subbed off so we can play football. So yeah, it's difficult to say. I think that United didn't use inverted centre back because only Shaw and Licher can progress the ball really good from that position and aggressive enough to quickly retain it back. Yeah, I'm not surprised that we don't use inverted centre back stepping forward into midfield, but I'm surprised we don't see the inverted fullback more. Depends on what you view as being thrown under the bus. Yeah, and also what the players view as being thrown under the bus, perhaps more importantly. I wish with the Varane thing, it would be nice just to know what's going on. Because let's be honest, he should be playing this football match. If his mentality is right, if he's not throwing toys out the pram, etc., he should be playing this football match. Because he's our best defender. He is our best defender. I don't think there's any arguing that. He should be playing this. Hey AJ, hope you have a good day. Thank you very much, mate. Hope you're having a good day as well. Hope you've had a good past week or so. Again, apologies for the lack of stream towards the end of last week. Work was being done on the internet and it took a long time, so that's why I couldn't stream. Most players seem to be on his side. I think that's a sentiment we can agree on. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about this football match. Manchester United against Bayern. What players are you thinking, yes, this guy needs to come in? Or we shouldn't play blah blah blah. We should use this formation, we shouldn't use this formation. We should press, we shouldn't press. How are we feeling going into the game? How are we feeling? Does Varane come in for this game? If he's going to come in for a game, for me, it's this one. Because Lindelof is ill, right? Shaw, or is he injured? One of the two. Shaw didn't play well at the weekend. And, I think it makes sense just to put him back to fullback. The problem with bringing Varane in, and this is in Ten Hag's eyes, just trying to stop a sneeze coming here. We know that Ten Hag doesn't like Maguire left centre-back. That's the big issue. Particularly against a side which will press, and I think Bayern will. Before that, let's just quickly look at the two squads, and let's look at the season so far. So this is using Data MB Pro, by the way. You can get Data MB, which is a free version of this. It's quality. This is the Pro version, which costs a little bit of money, but it's really worth it. Great software if you want to check it out. I do recommend that you check it out. Maybe I can get a link for you at some point. But I'm going to enter two team names here, Manchester United and, of course, Bayern. And I want you to look at the areas, or just what they're doing this season, basically. So we've got Manchester United here, and this is based on percentile ranking. Let me just check that you guys can see that. You can. Lovely. So when we see a thing like physicality, right, we've got some descriptions down here which you guys can read. So physicality is the duels won percentage and the aerial duels won percentage. Pressing is the passes per defensive action, which is, how many passes can the opposition play before we put a defensive action in. Counterattacks is just counterattacks per 90. Defending is goals conceded per 90 and shots on target against per 90, etc. Right, so you guys can get a rough idea of what these metrics mean. This is currently how United rank in terms of percentile rankings. It's not great. How do we think it will compare to Bayern? I actually haven't done this, by the way, so I don't know what this is going to say. Let's look at Bayern so far this season. So United are blue. Bayern. Okay. That's a problem. You can see Bayern are better at pretty much everything. Now, obviously, we've got to consider if they are, for example, better in the possession stats, then they naturally are going to be better in the defensive stats because they've got more of the ball. You can also argue that they play in an easier league, etc. But it's an interesting thing to look at. It's an interesting little thing to look at. What we also need to look at is tactical setup and things like that. So what I want to do is go over to the tactical board. That's the wrong screen. Here we go. So we need to look at, we've seen some numbers there. There's some issues for United coming into this game, right? We lack physicality, things like that. Bayern are quite good in those areas. However, they aren't perfect. Okay, I've seen a lot of talk that United have no chance in this game. Bayern are so good, blah, blah, blah. They're good, right? Bayern are good at football. They're strong, they're physical, technical. They are good. Thomas Tuchel, they've got a good manager. They're well set up. But they're not perfect. And I do see flaws in their system. I don't think they were good in the first game against us. I think we had some horrendous individual errors. If you remember that game, Casemiro couldn't scan to save his life. I think Onana probably made a mistake because it was the Champions League. Bayern weren't great against us in the first game, in my opinion. And they haven't been great throughout the group. They've qualified, but there's been some dodgy results in there. Wins by 1 goal or draws. They're not setting the world alight. Of course, they've got a better base than us, for example. They're going into this game with a bit more confidence and things like that. But they aren't perfect. People talking about their, what was it, the 5-1 loss at the weekend. I have watched that game. They weren't as bad as 5-1 suggests. I'll say that much. I believe the expected goals, Bayern had about 2. And Frankfurt had about 1.8, something like that. So yes, Frankfurt, it looks like they battered them. They didn't really, but I think there's things we can take from that Frankfurt game. So let's take a look at Bayern and their setup. How are Bayern going to play? Well, let's be honest. You've got a goalkeeper like Neuer, centre-backs like Kim Min-jae and Upamecano. They're going to want to play the ball out from the back. Neuer, one of the best ball-playing goalkeepers ever. He's kind of he really is the symbol of what modern-day goalkeepers are, and I feel like he really led and inspired a lot of them. He was actually inspired by Van der Sar, which is kind of a cool link. But Bayern will look often to build possession in a 2-4 shape. And the reason I want to go through Bayern first is so that we can look at their strengths and weaknesses and then figure out which of our players can combat that. Make sense? Before I do that, actually, let me read through some of these comments. It's either we have too many arrogant players or one massively egotistical manager. Oh yeah, we're not winning. Oof, mamma mia. In short, we lack on everything. I think Tuchel is also limiting Bayern as well, which shows how far off we are. I agree. Like I said, I don't think Bayern are set up that great. Having some wobbles, but their starting point is so much higher than ours. Such a more complete club. Yep. Onana did make a mistake with a shot from Sane. Seems about right. Frankfurt were clinical, and statistically we are the worst in the Prem. Also a good point. Yeah, Frankfurt very much took their chances in that game. By the way, I have a feeling that Musiala would smoke Amrabat. Well, he's already smoked the rest of our midfielders this season, so. I think Ten Hag is hyper-fixated on a left-footed centre-back at left centre-back. I think he tends to prioritise attacking attributes over defensive attributes. Varane will massively improve our rest defence if Erik Ten Hag cares. I do agree. I think McTominay should be a super sub and Kobe should play alongside Amrabat from the start. Okay, let's talk about Bayern. 2-4 shape initially, okay? So you got Joshua Kimmich and Goretzka dropping in. It will most likely be Alphonso Davies at left back. He is their go-to left back. Not in the best form at the moment. He is struggling a little bit, but he's a good player without a doubt. Mazraoui on the right-hand side. It could be him. It could be Lima. Again, either way, these are good fullbacks. Mazraoui in particular, super technical. Lima capable of playing pretty much anywhere on a football pitch. He's got a really good solid base. They'll use this 2-4 shape initially. The thing they'll do after this, though, is often shift to 2 different shapes. They've got one which is Goretzka will push further forward, like this. And they go to more of a 2-3-4-1 or a 2-3-5 shape with the front 5 up here. And truthfully, when they do this, they have some similar problems to what United do. Because they're quite flexible in this first base of changing shape, they do leave gaps. So if you can win the ball in this sort of position, when they're in this structure, Kimmich isn't a ball winner. He's a good player. but he's not someone who's really good at breaking up play. He's not a destroyer. He's not that destructive. He doesn't cover ground that well. So there's potentially something you can get out there. Another system they'll sometimes use is a 3-1 shape. We're all familiar with that. Kim Min-jae will move to left centre-back. Upamecano will move to the centre-back. And the right-back will tuck into a back 3. Kimmich will be the solo pivot. Alphonso Davies will push forward like this. So this is another system that they can use, the 3-1 shape. They can also use a 3-2 shape as well, like this, with Kimmich and Goretzka playing as a double pivot. That is very much a possibility. The other thing they could do is go back to the 2-4 shape, and what they're going to do from here is get both wingers coming really narrow like this, and then they'll push both fullbacks around. So what we can see is that tactically they're flexible. They have a lot of different systems they can use. But I think, obviously, that's a good thing. But as United fans, I think we also understand the negative of that as well. And the negative of that is, when you're transitioning from system to system, when you're in that split second where you're between the systems, you can be a bit fragmented. And that's when you can get hurt by the opposition. So there will be times in this game where United will be able to get a Bayern in transition. Because again, Bayern aren't in, the richest vein of form. This isn't the best Bayern side I've ever seen. We saw them lose 5-1 at the weekend. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Are they going to come out a little wounded and play poorly? Or they're going to come out swinging to get revenge? Not sure. But I think tactically, they're not perfect. The thing which worries me massively, and this is, for me, there's two things actually which really worry me, is the fact that Sane, Musiala and Koeman, particularly Sane and Musiala, like to get inside in pockets of space. And not just that, from those positions, they're brilliant ball carriers. Musiala is one of the best in the world at it, but Sane is obviously a winger as well. Very good dribblers, very good in congested space, in open space. They're great at carrying the ball. What are United bad at defending? Ball carriers. So that's one of my concerns. When Koeman moves inside, but more so Musiala and Sane, when they're moving into these pockets, that's a problem. So we need to address that when we come up with the United starting 11, formation, tactics, etc. And then the other concern is Harry Kane he's Harry Kane, and Harry Kane's pretty good at football. So that's my other concern. But those are the things to look at with Bayern on the ball. In terms of out of possession, they kind of vary. At times they'll go really aggressive in a press. So they'll go for a 4-4-2. Musiala will move into a front 2 like this. And the midfielders will come up like so. They can be quite aggressive in the way that they press, and they can go for a man-for-man structure. We know that someone like Neuer in goal is going to sweep up behind, so they can do that. The only thing I would say when they do this is at times the midfield don't connect that well to the press because they're a bit worried about what's behind them. For example, when Bruno Fernandes drops into this sort of position, it can take the attention of Kimmich a little bit. So when someone like Shaw has the ball here, if he's able to work himself a bit of time, Kimmich does sometimes have this a bit of indecision on, do I go tight on Amrabat or do I drop off on Bruno Fernandes? And at times he does leave himself a little bit in no man's land. So perhaps that's where you can then get on a ball, turn and play out. There's also a chance that they're not so aggressive in the press and they sit off a little more. And obviously that asks different questions of United. Based on that stuff, what do you think is the best sort of way to approach this game? Musiala is the kind of 10 I like. Musiala is a great player. I absolutely love him. I've been a big fan of him since literally his debut, since he first broke through. Great player. If he plays, which I think he will, it's a problem for United. It's a real problem. I think he's the player, apart from Harry Kane, which scares me more than anyone else on this pitch. On his day, I don't think anyone can fully shut him down, only redirect him. P.S. I don't want to ruin your analysis, but we don't have a single player that can stop, let alone slow down any Bayern player. So that's exactly why we need to find a structure which can, rather than individuals, I guess. We have to stop them indirectly, make them decide to limit themselves to counter our threat. Good point, I like that. Only way to do it against a physical mismatch. In possession, Ten Hag could use his 3 at the back build-up with Varane in the starting 11, as if he pushes Maguire higher into the 6, his lack of pace can't affect us, and we could use him as a wall bounce. I'm worried if Ten Hag uses the same formation. Koeman is also a crazy dribbler. Yeah, Koeman's also great on the dribble. I just don't think he doesn't come inside quite as much, although again, if he does, terrifying. Upamecano is definitely a weak point 1 versus 1. If we can isolate him, maybe we can exploit that. Yeah, I also think he's a little bit error prone as well in big games, so potentially. Koeman and Sane's speed is incredible. I'm worried. Sane spent years at City training the exact movement that will destroy Maguire too. Burst in behind for the cutback to catch him on the turn. How does Ten Hag line up today? Not too sure. Also, can we look back briefly how we set up at the Allianz? If someone's got that, absolutely we can. Amrabat has been good lately. I hope he can be tenacious enough to shut down Musiala. Difficult task, but he might be able to. I hope Wan-Bissaka starts. Do you guys agree? AJ, quick question. Why are Man United unwilling to commit either park the bus or fully on pressing on front foot? I think it's because Ten Hag always in the back of his head wants to be a pressing manager. I think that's how he feels football should be played. At the same time, so he pushes his forwards upright. At the same time, I don't think he trusts his defenders to defend in a high line and cover a lot of spaces, so he drops them off. And that's why we're having such a big gap. Of course, that's wrong. He needs to commit either way, either fully press or fully drop off, but I think that's kind of the explanation behind it. Press like it was in Chelsea match, mainly in the starting 11, more concrete instructions on who cover crosses and defend with all the team. Why don't we build up with a 2-4 like we did versus Copenhagen? Definitely something we could do. I'll mention that in a second. Needs to have cover in midfield that can track the 1-2s from Kane and Musiala. Sane, Koeman, so that it's not left on Harry to cover the ground behind him so much. McTominay and Fernandes are starting, probably. I think what we can say, right, is of course something which I will often vouch for is going in an aggressive man-to-man pressing structure in certain areas of the pitch. I think that's a really effective way of playing football a lot of the time. But that's in an ideal world. And I think as a Manchester United fan, but also if you were the manager, I think you've got to look at the 2-11s here and say, if we really go man for man, are we actually good enough? I think that's a question. I think that's probably the place for Ten Hag to start tonight. In terms of thinking in his head, what's the best tactical approach to go and get points here? He needs to decide straight away whether he defensively has an 11 which can go man for man. I'm not sure it can. I think Musiala in particular, I feel like if we go man for man with him, it's just going to cause problems. Now, why do I say that? Well, I cover this a lot. A man-to-man structure is great because it allows you to get touch tight to everyone, right? Like so. The problem with a man-to-man pressing structure is the second one player gets beat, you're now in a lot of room and you're dragging someone else out of position. And I really fear that Musiala could do something similar. That's my concern. We don't have the physicality or ability to go toe-to-toe with these players. That's my feeling. Out of possession. That is my feeling. What do you guys think? If Ten Hag doesn't trust his defenders to play a high line, then why didn't you make defenders a priority in the summer? Fair question. Completely fair question. Onana, Dalot, Lindelof, Licha, Reguilon, Casemiro, Eriksen, Pellistri, Bruno, Rashford and Højlund was the team which played last time. Let me quickly put you guys can look at Ten Hag for a bit and enjoy that beautiful face. Let me get the starting 11 from last time up on the screen for you. Just give me 1 second. Didn't Ten Hag say he doesn't want to press man for man? Yeah, but if you watch it back, he also says that, we do in certain parts of the game. But I think even in certain parts, in this one, it might be a risk. Like I said, I'm someone who normally would suggest it. I do believe in a man-to-man press. I think it's a great way to go a lot of the time. But I think you've got to recognise when it isn't the game. So we're just going to look at a couple more things, and then we're going to come on to what we feel we should go for in terms of starting 11. So let me get... Can you guys see that? Lovely. We can't go man for man with Bayern. We can barely win duels and headers. Yep, fair point. So let's look at this starting 11 real quick. It's not great, is it? Realistically, it will be a completely different centre-back pairing and an entirely new midfield. If you go back to the thumbnail real quick, I'll quickly show it. Those 4 areas which I've got marked for question marks here will almost definitely be different. They will be different players to what we saw last time. One thing I will say is what we're going to upgrade from that game is physicality at centre-back. Because Maguire, I think, would agree, is more physical than Lisandro Martinez. but also whether it's Luke Shaw or Rafael Varane or Johnny Evans even, they're all more physical than Lindelof. So that's an interesting point. It would also be interesting if we were to play Shaw at fullback in this game. That is an upgrade on Reguilon. And also, if we were to play Wan-Bissaka instead of Dalot, defensively that is an upgrade. And we lost that game 4-3, and we were in that game. So, my eyes just twitching, apologies. So there's a chance there that we get a better defensive performance, because I would argue we could actually upgrade physically all 4 of those defenders with tonight's 11, if Ten Hag is willing to make the decisions. In terms of in the midfield too, if we're talking about, say getting Scott McTominay in for Eriksen, it's a much more physical side instantly. But also, if you were to switch it up and go a different way, Amrabat and Kobbie Mainoo, instead of Casemiro and Eriksen, you're going to see a lot more ball retention. So that's an interesting idea. Anthony for Facundo Pellistri, you're going to see more ball retention. Garnacho in for Rashford, you're going to see greater work rate. So is there potential here that, United lost that game 4-3. Is there potential that even just with this starting 11, we could see an improvement in this game? What do you guys think? Or do you think that is quite a strong 11? What are you guys thinking? I think having Mainoo and Amrabat in the double pivot will give us a solid presence in midfield, more so than with McTominay. One of the common back fours of last season would give us a better chance. Yeah, absolutely. McTominay literally gave Ten Hag a love poem. He's definitely starting. Man for man doesn't work in this match. With Musiala can beat this press. Completely agree. And if players would be following players in midfield, like in the Chelsea match, Kane would have a lot of space. I completely agree with that as well. Callum saying just me or anyone else quietly confident for tonight. I've got a feeling we win. And I said that before the Chelsea game, and it worked quite well. Will we win? I'm not sure. What about Bruno on the right wing and having a midfield of Scotty, Amrabat and Kobbie Mainoo? Well, who asked about this morning? Was it Matt? Matt, was it you, I believe, on Discord, asking about the potential to play a 4-4-2 diamond in this game? Defensively, it would give us a lot of numbers in the midfield. Potentially. I think I would prefer that over Bruno right wing as such. A diamond, Amrabat holding it, Kobbie Mainoo, McTominay, Bruno Fernandes. Could that work? The problem with that is I think we actually really struggle at progressing the ball through the middle of the pitch at the moment. I think a lot of our progression comes out wide, and obviously we lose that if we play a more narrow formation. So I think perhaps defensively it would improve us, but I'm not sure it would from an attacking point of view. I think we would therefore suffer, and obviously this is a game that United need to go win, so we do need to be looking at the attacking side of things as well. I'm trying to see if I can find a graph anywhere to show where we attack, but I don't think I can right now, unfortunately. I'll get that sorted for another day. But again, it is something to look at. We should play a 3-2-4-1 formation to control the midfield. How's Martinez on the list, man? That was the last time we played him, mate. Alphonso Davies would cause a lot of problems in the diamond. Yeah, I think that's also a fair point. Who plays in the 10 at Anfield? Probably Scott. Yeah, I think it's pretty much the only option, really. Depending on their response, it can leave your fullbacks wide open for the switches. Yeah, I definitely see advantages of the diamond, but there's also obviously drawbacks. I think one of the big drawbacks would perhaps be just our lack of experience using it. I think that would maybe be the biggest concern. I do miss Mount in games like these. Out of possession, I feel like he's one of our best players. I completely agree with that. Reguilon, Shaw, Maguire are 3 players Kane has the knowledge on. Got to be cautious of that. That's a good point. I guess at the same time, though, it goes the opposite way as well, right? That those 3 defenders also know Harry Kane's game a little bit. Alphonso Davies would cause problems if Bruno was on the right. Bruno owes us a big performance after the Bournemouth mess. Yeah, Bruno has been really frustrating the last 7 days because I thought against Chelsea he was just absolutely brilliant. Voice crack. He missed the penalty, obviously, but I thought apart from that, he was so good. And then, yeah, against Bournemouth, I could not tell you what he was doing. Anyway, let's come up with a starting 11. And we're going to start off in goal. We don't normally start here. We normally kind of skip this. Onana or Bayern tonight. It's up to you guys whether you want to take this with the approach of what you think Ten Hag will do or what you would do. To give you guys an idea of what I would be looking at personally. I personally would probably go with perhaps something like this, perhaps with Rasmus up front. I think that's maybe what I would be considering. Everyone's saying Onana in goal. I agree personally. I just wondered if anyone would be any different just because of his recent mistakes in the Champions League. But yeah, I agree. I don't think there's a world where Onana doesn't start tonight. How about in the back line? What are we thinking in defence? If Litter is fit, I'd start him. Yeah, I don't think he is though, right? Back in training, luckily. Done some actual team training yesterday as well, but he's still on individual training for the rest of the session, so I think probably mid-January we might see him return. VK with another donation. Guys, spam the love heart straight away before I read this out. Thank you very much, VK. Saying it's the theatre of dreams. Believe. Onana man of the match in a win. Pride and passion, only way we can win. Show them typical British 100 miles per hour game today and use 5 subs wisely. I think that's a good point. I think the in-game management of Ten Hag will be important. Whether McTominay or Mainu starts, I think both of them have a role to play in this game. So I think that's a really good point. Marcus Rashford, if he has recovered from that illness, could have a part to play in this game. So I think you're spot on there about in-game management. And I also like the idea of, yeah, a passionate performance from the players, I think is what is needed. Just technical ability isn't going to do it in this game. Onana needs to be burdened with the responsibility of this game. That sounds quite dark, doesn't it? We are in his position largely due to him. Fair enough. Yeah, I agree that he should play. I reckon we'll see Evans and Maguire. That would worry me. With the twisting and turning ability of Musiala going at them, that would worry me. I'd rather put Varane in goal before I ever trust Onana again. Nice. Why is Mount not starting? I believe he's still injured. Where is Mook hides a lot? He is definitely starting. Oh, this was just me talking about what I would do. We're now going to do what we think will happen. Really want to like Onana, but his errors are so confidence destroying for the back four. Don't understand why Kovar was sold and Bayern bought. Yeah, I never quite understood that bit of business. With Onana, just give it time and just hope. He is such a good goalkeeper. Again, statistically, for 4 of the past 5 seasons, he's been the best goalkeeper in the Champions League. We're not using his strengths, and that frustrates me. Onana should not play tonight. Dallo is a better option than Wan-Bissaka. Nev saying, I doubt Varane would be playing, but if we could, then I would play what you're showing now. But if Varane is not playing, then Maguire, Shaw as our centre-backs, then Wan-Bissaka and Reguilon. Alright guys, let's vote on the 2 centre-backs then. Give me a centre-back pairing. Let's assume Lindelof is out. Is Evans fit? Johnny Evans is fit, right? What I'll do, I'll separate this into 2. We'll start off with left centre-back. And then we'll go to right centre-back. Actually, start off with just get in chat actually initially. And let me know who you guys would go for. Then maybe we'll take it to a poll. If only we could pick a prime 7-8 United side for this game. I mean, it'd be quite handy. I think they could still do a job, a lot of them. Evans came on in the Bournemouth game, so presumably fit. Go with Varane and any academy defender. FP saying Shaw and Maguire. I think Shaw and Maguire is probably the most likely. But like I've said, I would go with Varane, and Corey agrees. I think Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag will go Shaw, Maguire. I would go Varane. The team is already perfect, lol. Well, what can I say? I pick a good 11. With this particular 11, I like the idea of Maguire trying to get a bit tighter to Kane at times and having Varane as kind of the spare man in here. I think that's a good idea. I think regardless of the 11, one thing which is really, really important in this game is off the ball intelligence. And I mean this obviously in general, but in one particular sense. At times, United probably will adopt a man-to-man structure for certain phases of the game, right? Certain game states. It's important, though, that sometimes when you press, sometimes when you don't press, you can get caught in between some of your players are pressing and some aren't, right? So let's say in situation A, B, and C, this is a tactical instruction, we press. But when it's situation D, E, F, we are going to sit off a bit more. Sometimes you get players then who press and some who drop off. So it's important that the pressing triggers, if we are going to press at any point in this game, the pressing triggers have to be clear, and the midfielders in particular have to follow that. For me, we really saw it from Scott McTominay being really bad for it for the Chelsea goal last week. So what happens is Højlund is here, and at the time, he is not applying pressure to the centre-backs. And ultimately, right, your striker, he's the front man. He's the start of your defence. He's the first line of defence. He's in control of whether you press or not. So if he isn't pressing, the midfielders can't. What we saw against Chelsea was Højlund just for a moment sat off, which is completely fine to sit off into a mid-block. But the midfield didn't recognise that trigger. So we had Højlund letting the centre-backs have time, but at the same time, our midfield were all man-to-man. McTominay in particular gets dragged out here. But because Højlund isn't applying pressure to the ball, Chelsea are able to kind of come in, play through. The man-to-man midfielders move people about, and then we find space in here. United cannot afford that in this game. The team really has to be cohesive when pressing, when in a mid-block, when dropping off. That has to be really on point in this game, because if you get it wrong just slightly, Kim Min-jae will find that pass through the lines, and Sane, Musiala, Kane will punish you. So instead, what should have happened on that particular Chelsea goal, go watch it back, you really should. What should have happened is because Højlund didn't apply pressure to the ball here, over here, rather than the midfielders going man for man, they should have actually just covered space, like this, and let Goretzka, or whoever it was at the time, drop into this position, rather than being dragged out by him. So I think that's something which is going to be absolutely vital to this game. The cohesive unit, but the intelligence, not just work rate, the intelligence of the players off the ball. And I do think this is an area where McTominay struggles. He's not the most intelligent defensively. Is that harsh? I don't know, but I think it's true. AJ, in your post-match analysis, it would be nice if you can include more actual clip rather than using this. The problem with that is I don't get copyright strikes. I try and do it here and there where I can, but there's certain rules you've got to follow. Yeah, copyright is the issue. Sadly, Ten Hag won't go Varane and Maguire. I think it's unlikely. VK saying Evans and Maguire. Maguire and Varane easily. Ten Hag needs to ignore his obsession with a left-footed player at left centre-back for this game specifically. Sure, Maguire is most likely, but Varane and Maguire would be ideal. 3-4-3 is a better formation to neutralise the wing play. Maguire, Varane and Shaw as centre-back. The problem with any sort of approach like that, though, is the second you completely change to a new structure which you haven't worked on, you're probably going to see flaws, right? So, not sure. Do you think this team lacks football IQ? Yes. The only two players in your Bayern 11 that I would say aren't excellent on the ball are Upamecano and Goretzka. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And even those two, they're not bad. We might see Maguire and Evans. Yeah, we definitely could. Can United really win this game? Yes, they can. Because I think we played terribly in the first game against Bayern, and we only lost by 1 goal. That's got to give you a bit of hope, right? If you just look at the results over the weekend, football is such a weird sport. Genuinely, it's cliche, but anyone can beat anyone. Particularly when you've got the players United do have. There are people here which can do magic things. Højlund could get a goal out of nowhere. Bruno Fernandes can play a pass, which is just a joke and no one else in the world sees it. Garnacho apparently can score bicycle kicks now. So, United can win this game. Goretzka is the definition of solid, though, doesn't have a real weak point. Yeah, I think that's fair. Casemiro is probably the only reason the first leg had a respectable scoreline. Also true, yeah, obviously those 2 late goals. I think he's also the reason they scored 2 or 3 of theirs. I think he had a horrendous performance despite his goals. But yeah, I think I completely understand what you're saying. See you later, FP, mate. Thanks for joining. Enjoy the game later. Obviously, I'll be uploading tomorrow morning my coverage of the game. I don't know what the problem is, right? In terms of doing a tactical preview for something like this, is there's a big difference between what I want to suggest we should do and what Ten Hag is going to do. Because, like I said, I would go for Maguire and Varane. I think Sane coming into these pockets here, up against Maguire, you're asking for quite a long night there. I think you've got a problem. Whereas I think if you put Maguire on the left-hand side, it actually protects him a little bit, but also we get our best box defender in the team. Someone who has the experience of these big games, who has the know-how of defending these situations. Obviously, the flip side of that, you do have his on-the-ball stuff, which has been bad. It's difficult. It's difficult. What is wrong with at least trying a 4-4-2? Two strikers, Rashford and Højlund. Defensively, I think we should go for a 4-4-2. It's crazy to say this, but I think there's a better chance of us beating Bayern than Copenhagen and Galatasaray drawing. That's obviously a problem as well. We're relying on a different result. I would go Varane, but it just feels it's no longer an option. Yeah, I agree. To be fair, on the ball stuff might not matter this game. We might just need to go long all game. If you're going to do that, you have to play Varane for that extra bit of speed in defence. You have to play Rasmus Højlund up top. You have to play McTominay. Rashford should play just behind Højlund. It's a better option for the future. I think Rashford is banned for this game due to the red card. No, I think he just missed the one game against Galatasaray, I believe. Any reason why Ten Hag doesn't use McTominay as a 9 or an impact sub? I think an impact sub is the way to use McTominay. Box crashing midfielder with 20 minutes to go when you need a goal. Scott McTominay is your man. Would anyone play Kobbie Mainoo in the side? You'd need to go long to the left, or Davies just nullifies any runner. Yeah, also true. Garnacho doesn't receive a switch that well, in your opinion? Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why Højlund needs to play this game as well. Being that target man, but also someone who can go in behind. I feel like Garnacho and Antony don't like to spin that much. And that's actually somewhere you can hurt Bayern if you spin them in behind. I think that's why Højlund has to play. It's obviously the argument for Rashford starting. If he has got over that illness, he will run the other way. AJ, aren't you Atlantis Football? No, we are not the same person. Will Bruno be dropped today? Also in preparation for Liverpool. I get the idea behind preparing for the Liverpool game with it. It is something which had crossed my mind. I think it's unlikely, though. I think United need a result tonight. Ten Hag sees Bruno as one of his best players, so I think he'll play. Perfect time to sell McTominay. His value will never be higher. I worry about Mainoo's physicality, but he's so much better on the ball compared to Scotty. I would play Kobbie, but it's not going to happen. Could Kobbie... Do you need Scott McTominay in this midfield battle? What do you guys reckon? Let's put... where is he? Kobbie Mainoo. We'll put him this side. Amrabat, Bruno Fernandes. Up against Kimmich, Goretzka, Musiala. Do you guys think there's a big physical mismatch there or not really? Kimmich obviously physically isn't all that really. Goretzka is a big, tall, strong guy. Similar build to McTominay. Not quite as tall. Musiala is reasonably tall, quite strong. Do you think there is a physical problem with that United midfield which needs McTominay? Or do you think it's okay without him? I have never seen AJ and Atlantis in the same room together at the same time. They could be the same person. Maybe we are. Maybe we are. McTominay is another Fellaini, a different burden. Please no McTominay. McTominay is a liability. McTominay will never be that world-class player. He should be used as an impact sub. Ten Hag and McTominay are close to finalising a relationship. Oh, I'm happy for them. How much of the ball do you think we will have? Not that much. Not that much. Goretzka is physically the one which worries me a little bit. I wonder if we see McTominay just as a matchup there. But right, actually, let's combat that. Let's flip the coin a little bit and look at the other side of it. Because I feel like we've said that a lot recently. The opposition have got a small player, so we should play Scott McTominay to take advantage of it, right? We've said that quite a bit. We've also had games where the opposition have got a big player in midfield, so we need to get our big guy in midfield to combat it. McTominay doesn't really physically dominate games. He should. He's got all the profile to do it. But he doesn't tend to do it. Is his physical side enough? Is his physical side going to do enough for United to sacrifice having the ball, which we would with someone like Kobbie Mainoo? What do you think? Do you think it's a net negative or net positive to have Scott McTominay in the side? Because, like you said there, MUFC, Joel Linton destroyed him the other week. Like, toyed with him. It was literally like a fully grown man playing against a child. McTominay got destroyed. But also, I was saying it against Bournemouth. I was talking about it on Discord and also on Twitter. The average height of the Bournemouth midfield was 5'8". Scott McTominay was 6'3", or taller than that. But did you see any sign of Scott McTominay physically dominating that game? I did not. Corey becoming a member for another month. Thank you very much, my friend. Varane must be talking to Ten Hag's daughter. Yeah. I think that there's got to be something going on there. Because I can't believe he keeps getting dropped for this sort of game. Thank you very much for the membership. Everyone spam some love hearts for Corey. Matt saying he has the tools, but his play style is more indirect, so he doesn't quite impose himself as he should. Yeah, Joel Linton bossed him. Scott McTominay is the main problem. He has no ball control, ball carrying ability whatsoever. If he plays, we are done. McTominay has been stinking up our midfield for several years. McTominay's physical presence has never really benefited us defensively because he severely lacks defensive intelligence. What's the point of physicality if he is never at the right place? Fair points. DJ Nature, mate, good to see you. I hope you're well. I'm very well myself. Thank you very much. Hope you're having a good day. McTominay is a net negative. End of. He's mentally weak to be dominant physically. I'd rather a man who can pass the ball. Off topic, but how many games have we missed Fred's energy this season? Yeah, I think it would have been less of an issue if Mount had been fit, but yeah, I think we have missed it. I don't see McTominay in the places we need him. His physicality won't help if he isn't there. Fair point. Key to this game is keeping possession. Not sure we have the players for it. Or if Ten Hag would go with players with that ability. Fair argument. Mount doesn't even start when fit. Yeah, the Mount situation's weird. Goretzka will dominate Scott physically. So would you guys therefore not play McTominay? Is that what we're getting at here? Because the problem is, right, if we go, okay, drop McTominay, he's not good enough on the ball, he doesn't impact the game, blah, blah, blah. Take McTominay out. As far as I'm aware, the only real option is Kobbie Mainoo. Suddenly, right, if we do that, if Ten Hag does that, and Goretzka just drives his way through the pitch constantly and no one's strong enough to match him, everyone's going to say, we obviously needed McTominay. So, that's an issue. That is an issue. We can't overlook Kimmich as a threat on the ball. Do we need someone that can harass him a bit? Yeah, Kimmich is a great player on the ball. I don't really think we have someone who can go man-to-man and properly do a job on him, though. Bruno Fernandes works with intensity. You know, he works hard, he covers a lot of ground. But I don't think he's that intelligent with the way that he presses, and Kimmich is a really intelligent player. So I think even Bruno would get caught out there. What about Hannibal? He just won't play deeper in this game. He could play higher, but we won't see him in a deep role. McTominay wouldn't have stopped it anyway. Yeah, but what does it matter what people say? If he can't stop him anyway, then what's the point in playing him? Fair point. So I was just kind of throwing up the counter argument. Ignore McTominay being a defensive burden. He is a burden going forward as well. Agreed. There are so many instances when space opens up and he is just not showing up into that space and demanding for the ball. I agree. I think he is one of our problems in possession. Do you actually think McTominay would stop Goretzka from driving forward, considering he's not usually there when we transition to defence. All fair points. Like I said, I'm not saying we should start McTominay. I was trying to throw the counter argument out there, you know, for the sake of being balanced. I think that's something we do quite well on here. Someone said they think McTominay doesn't really hide from the ball. He moves away from the pass to drag the opposition marker out of position to open up passing lanes to better players. I think that is true. I think, I think it's sometimes true. I think sometimes he does hide from the ball when he should go get it, but at other times, yeah, it is a tactical instruction to get behind the opposition's press. Ten Hag's going to start him, their buddy-buddy. Is Ten Hag McTominay's real father? We might need a DNA test. Ten Hag could drop Anthony and play Bruno on the right, Scott at 10, like Barca last year, with Weghorst. Would you be worried about Davies bombing forward against Bruno, though? Possibly. Although, he done alright against Balde last year, who's a similar type of fullback down the left-hand side who wants to really bomb forward, quite strong and athletic, quick. So maybe he could do a similar job again. But obviously, we lose something in transition with Bruno on the right. That's the problem. And I think realistically, our best chances probably come in transition. But again, I definitely see your point. If we lost this 7-0, what would be your thoughts, AJ? My instant thoughts would probably be just tears and angry things which I can't say on the internet. I guess you mean what would my thoughts be with Ten Hag? My thoughts with Ten Hag right now are if he doesn't change things, he will suffer. And when I say he will suffer, I mean he'll lose his job. I think at the direction things are going at the moment, I think he will lose his job. I think he has to switch. The whole idea of sacking him, I was saying it to you the other day, Corey, is there just isn't anyone that I want. And also, as a person who I am Glazers out, right? The reason I am Glazers out is because I don't think they can put in place a structure for a manager to excel. So even if we sack Ten Hag, surely the next manager comes in and does just as bad because they'll also be in a bad, footballing environment. It's a weird one. It's a really weird one. If we were to get absolutely... I don't know that it would change anything. Because I don't think you guys realise quite how annoyed with Ten Hag I am at the moment. So I don't know that it would change that much. You mean my genuine thoughts? I honestly don't know. I feel like it would just be a pure numbness towards the club because unfortunately we've suffered it so much in recent times. It would feel perhaps inevitable and it would make me feel terrified for the Liverpool game. Yeah, apart from that, I don't really know. In terms of my stance on the manager and the players, I don't know if it would change that much because I don't think it would come as a massive surprise. And that's probably the biggest criticism I can give. But my thing massively is I don't think any manager will succeed in the current environment. So there's no point in trying someone different. So get Sir Jim Ratcliffe in, get the new football structure in place, then go from there. No matter the result tonight, that's my thoughts. Ten Hag didn't start McTominay last season. Why has he changed this season? It can't just be injuries because we have had alternatives. I think in recent weeks it's more injury related. If you look at the moment, pretty much the only other options are Hannibal Mejbri and Kobbie Mainoo. He doesn't seem to be a big fan of Hannibal, and Kobbie Mainoo's coming back from injury still, so recently I think he hasn't had much choice. I also think he's very aware that he's kind of fighting week to week to get results, and McTominay does get you results, as we've seen with goals, Brentford, Chelsea, there's loads of games, so I think that's why. Who supplies Højlund? Nothing wide if Shaw plays centre-back. That's also a fair point. I would play Shaw full-back in this game. What would you guys think if I was to say... Let me just quickly write it in and then get him on screen. So we could keep Shaw full-back. What would your opinions be if I'd done that? I'm not saying we should. Not that, sorry, hang on. That. What would your opinions be then? I think we all want the Glazers out, but they're not going and they don't lay out the tactics, so I have to blame the manager in charge of that. Yeah, and that is my argument as well. like on the flip side of it, Ten Hag has to do way better. Again, I've said it time and time again. Ten Hag is not getting enough out of this squad. There's a good set of footballers there. There's a good set of players, and Ten Hag tactically is shooting himself in the foot week after week. So, yeah, Corey, like I said, I've said it several times now. Trust me, I'm, on the edge with Ten Hag. I'm still backing him, as in because he's the manager. I'm going to support him, but he's got to be careful. He's got to be really careful, and if he keeps being stubborn, like I've said, he will lose his job. Hopefully, the best thing for this football club is that he's not stubborn. He changes tactics. We win football matches. That's the best thing which happens here. But we just have to wait and see if that happens. If it doesn't, he probably will eventually leave. If Ten Hag was sacked, who would you go for if you had to bring someone in? There isn't a name which comes to my head, and that's my problem. I do like what Amarin's doing with Sporting Lisbon, but I don't think he's elite tactically at the moment. And outside of that, people talk about Flick. You think Ten Hag can't get these players to work. Flick would want a high pressing system. I think he'd have similar problems to someone like Ralf Rangnick did with Flick. Zidane has rejected us about 20 times. Who else is there? Xabi Alonso? Is he going to leave a potential title win with Leverkusen halfway through the season? I don't think so. So, there isn't a manager at the moment which stands out to me. Arne Slot, it's not a bad shout. I would need to do more research into him a bit more. Why is Varane not starting? Do you mean why isn't Ten Hag starting him, or why haven't we got him here as well? Why we haven't got him here is just we were just quickly discussing something. My grandmother was decathlon athlete and gymnast, so I genuinely believe she could outpace that centre-back pairing. Sounds like a very talented woman. Yeah. Yeah, the pace would be a concern here. The problem is, basically, Maguire will play, right? It's Evans next to him, and it's this way around. It's Shaw next to him, this way around. Or it's Varane next to him, and Maguire moves across. Or Lindelof's fit, but that's touch and go. And I don't think you want to come into this game with a player whose fitness is a bit up in the air. Will Ahmad get a chance on the right this season? No idea. Potentially in the Cup, maybe, if he's fit by then. What do you think of De Zerbi? Really good coach, really good manager. Finding himself tactically flawed at the moment, though. Maybe more on that another day. Højlund is going to score. Yes, please. Yes, please. This would be a great night for a Højlund brace in a 2-0 or a 2-1 win. A draw in the other game. Højlund sends us through to the Champions League knockouts. What story that would be. Does anyone else feel, right? I've seen a lot of people saying this on Twitter. Does anyone feel like there's a script here? You know what we always talk about, like the script writers in football. I feel like whatever happens tonight, I just feel like it's not going to be smooth. It's going to be United do something miraculous and beat Bayern by a couple of goals or score a last-minute winner and there's a draw in the other game. Or United are going to win this last minute, but then Galatasaray win last minute in the other game, so we go out. Or United throw away a lead, or United have a comeback, or there's a comeback in the other game. I feel like it's not going to be straightforward tonight. It might be, obviously. We might just see a 1-0 in both games, for example. But I've got a feeling it's going to be one of those nights where 1 minute we're going through, the next minute we're going out, next minute we're in Europa League spot, 4 seconds. I think it's going to be one of those nights a little bit. We don't do straightforward, exactly. No, I mean, recently Ten Hag hasn't started Varane. What's the thinking behind it? I don't know. I do know it's the ball playing ability from the back. He doesn't like Maguire left centre-back because he thinks it reduces his angles to play up from the back because he's not very good with his left foot and he's not great on the turn. So therefore, it's Maguire versus Varane at right centre-back. Who's been in better form? Maguire. I think that's his thought process. Marco Rose is a great stopgap for me. I liked him a few years ago when he was at Gladbach. He then went to his next job and disappointed me. I'd be bold and find the best relationist manager out there. Also think the methodology, easy for me to say, behind it could be an antidote to some of our long-standing deficiencies. True. We throw away a lead is most likely, but I think we are beat and possibly heavily. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's going to be a simple thing tonight. It's going to be a big score either way or a big comeback. I don't think we're going to lose 1-0 with a goal on the 27th, for example. All of our games have been crazy in the Champions League. It's because of the open way Ten Hag has set up the team. Spot on. Why does he start Lindelof at left centre-back? Because Lindelof, whilst being right-footed, he's better with his left than what Maguire is. He is more capable of using his left foot. He's also not quite as big and clunky, which also means he can turn a little bit better, which also suits playing on the weaker side. It'll be such a shame if Ten Hag gets sacked. Last season was really good and we had some really good games and happy times. Yeah. Trying to fight off a sneeze right now. Yeah, it would be a real shame. We are winning, AJ. That's the energy I like. Let's look through it. Let me go to the group thing. Manchester United win. I'm going to go 3-2. There's my crazy game that I'm talking about. United win 3-2. Copenhagen Galatasaray is 1-1. Lovely. United are through to the next round of the Champions League. And go on to win the whole thing. That's the dream. I think we win but still go out. What would your guys' views be at that point? Let's say we win tonight. Bayern put a good team out. We win but still go out. How do you feel after that? Are you happy and excited because we won? Or are you, you see it as an irrelevant win which doesn't mean anything? Do you see it as an important boost for Liverpool at the weekend? Or is it a big hit going out of the Champions League for Liverpool? What would you guys make of that at that point? You'd be happier, but Europa is not winnable for us anyway. Fair enough. Which was our best game under Ten Hag, in your opinion? In my opinion, it's the Barcelona game. The Barcelona game is right up there. I feel like the Spurs game, we were good last year as well, the first one. And also the first half of the second Spurs game, we were good as well. I'd have to go back and watch some of them, though. The script is real. Yeah, there's going to be a script for this game, 100%. Yeah, Spurs, the first game against Spurs last year, we were good. The Liverpool win was good. The Arsenal win was good last year. City was good. Let's be honest, the past 4 managers have picked McTominay consistently over better players. What is the reason? I don't know. Is it his intensity? Is it his physical size? Is it his ability to grab a goal from nothing? Is it his work rate? Not really sure. Not really sure, sorry. Tell you what it's not, and that's his football intelligence, but hey-ho. To be fair to Ten Hag, in the Champions League, we could have had more points if it wasn't for individual mistakes. Yeah, absolutely. Onana's thrown about 6 balls into his net in the group stage. Casemiro at the start of the tournament was just refusing to move in midfield. And anytime someone got to the edge of our box, he just wouldn't look at them, and they would just get the ball and score. So I completely agree. The win puts us in Europa and confident mentality for Liverpool. Yeah, I agree with that. The interesting thing about the Liverpool game at the weekend, which perhaps we'll talk about later in the week, well, we will on stream, is that United play tonight, but Liverpool don't play till Thursday, right? Because of the Europa League. So that'll be interesting to see if that extra couple of days will have an impact on the weekend game. Also, how strong Liverpool go on Thursday will be interesting to see as well. Are they through? Does anyone know if Liverpool are through? I'm going to quickly find it. You guys can look at this group a bit longer and figure out how we go through. Let me look at the Europa League groups. Liverpool are already through. That's a shame then, because that means they'll rotate. If that had still been in contention in that group, it might have given us a chance to get something there, but yeah, they'll rotate. I just looked at some old footage of Ajax, and Onana always looked shaky. I think what it is, right, Onana is a good shot stopper. He is. Categorically, he is a good shot stopper. This season, obviously, terrible at times. In the Champions League, especially. And he has issues with his technique. But I think the big thing is, I think if you put Ederson in our team, for example, I think Ederson's a great goalkeeper. But I think he would suddenly look like a much worse keeper than he is, conceding that volume of shots. You don't sign one of the best ball-playing goalkeepers in history to, one, constantly play long, but two, to constantly have shots at him. You sign one of the best ball-playing goalkeepers to use his ball-playing ability. And United just aren't doing that. If we were able to use his ball-playing ability, I think everyone would be talking about it as a great signing again. So, let's just see how long it takes for that to happen. That will be a big decider on how well the whole situation goes. We scored more goals than Bayern in the Champions League, yet 9 points less. Yeah. And that says everything about the individual mistakes and also the defensive setup from Ten Hag. The extra days didn't help against Newcastle. Yeah, true. Crazy shout, but what would be your thoughts on Conte till the end of the season if the boss goes? The problem with someone like Conte is, again, like we've done for the last decade, it's just a completely different direction. You know, from Moyes to Van Gaal to Mourinho to Solskjaer to Ten Hag to then go Conte again. It feels like we're just constantly changing direction. Will signing one centre-back fix our defensive problems? No. Ten Hag has to change his tactics to fix our defensive problems. A couple of signings would help it. Do you prefer Europa League or just remain in England? I really don't know. Because let's say we go out of Europe completely tonight, right? If we lose. It then gives us the rest of this season to have more time in training, which is important in the sort of system Ten Hag's going for. It's intricate. You need time on the training pitch, and we haven't had that under Erik Ten Hag. It also gives you more rest. You know, you have longer on the training ground, but also more rest between games, which could be a boost for us in the league, massively. I think it's helping Spurs this season, for example. At the same time, if we go out of Europe completely tonight, are we going to get Champions League football next season by finishing in the top 4 or 5 this year in the Prem? How confident are you of that? You know, the worst case scenario really is that we were to go out of Europe completely tonight and then, let's say, finish 7th in the Premier League and end up in the Conference League. So the argument for playing, you know, for wanting to be in Europa League is if we go into Europa League and we're to somehow win it, we're in the Champions League next season. So it's a really difficult one. Ruben Amorim, yeah, he's the one top of my list at the moment. I need to watch a lot more still, but he's the one I like the look of. Less football, less injuries. Yeah, also very true. It's difficult to know, really. Because there's also that idea of maybe we just need 18 months out of top European competition to give us a chance to rebuild. What do you think of the chances of us winning Europa? We'd obviously be one of the favourites, but, you know, it's a good competition. It's stronger. Every year it gets stronger than it's ever been. We haven't got over the line in the last few years, so it's no guarantee. Of course, a team like Liverpool in there is going to be tough. So, would we win it? I'm not sure. I don't think we would. In that case, if I don't think we would win it, maybe we're just better off going out completely tonight. United versus Liverpool Europa League final would be a good spectacle. Waste of time going to the Europa League. Spurs are also suffering from injuries even though they play less. Yep, now imagine they had played 6 games more than what they have already this season and stayed in the Cup. Then imagine what their injuries would be. You don't think we'd win the Europa League either, which is why I think it's best to drop out. Might as well get out and focus on rebuilding and gaining momentum in the league. McTominay, Amrabat and Bruno stinks. Fair point. Galatasaray versus Copenhagen has 0-0 or 3-3 written all over it, as both sides will be anxious. European win, it's Liverpool in the final. Being in Europa will benefit us financially, though. That's exactly why, you know, there's not necessarily an ideal. I think what United need to do tonight is go out, try and win, see what happens. But absolutely try and win this football match. I don't want none of this nonsense where we're looking at the other game, we see Copenhagen are 3-0 up at half time, meaning we can't go through the group, so we throw it, none of that. We need to go out, try and win this football match. If that lands us in the Champions League, great. If it puts us in Europa, okay, let's take on Europa League. If it puts us out of Europe, okay, we'll take the extra rest. But United have got to try and win this football match. There should be none of this. The players and the manager and the staff shouldn't be, and I'm pretty sure they won't be going into this game thinking, what's the ideal if we don't stay in the Champions League? You've just got to go for it. They've got to try and win. Play like it's our last game. Yeah, just absolutely go for it. When was the last time we played a season without any European football? Couldn't tell you. I think the United squad is too bloated to just play once a week. We need midweek games to rotate and give young players minutes. I think that is a fair point as well. I think if we were to go out, we do have, when everyone's fit, we do have quite a big squad to only play once a week. 2014-15, says Corey, was the last time we weren't in Europe. What would be your ideal midfield if you could sign any top player so we can play Ten Hag football? Would you keep Kobbie Mainoo in there? Kobbie Mainoo is the one United midfielder I would definitely keep in there for the long term. Old Trafford deserves a performance after the last home game. Yeah, it's only just really dawned on me that we lost 3-0 at home to Bournemouth. Not just to Bournemouth, at home. I've only just really deeped that. See you later, Matt. Thanks for joining the stream. Have a good one. Hopefully the lads give you a win tonight to celebrate. Fingers crossed for the 1 in a million tonight. Yeah, we can dream. We can dream. Have a good one, Matt. I'll probably chat to you on Discord before the game anyway. Lopetegui or Lopetegui, I'm not sure how you say his name, for 6 months in a caretaker role until Sir Jim's team come in and make changes. I don't really know enough about him as a manager, really, to be able to give you too much of an opinion. So, I don't know. First time in Old Trafford history that we lost to a bottom half team with a 3+ goal margin. I feel like what we keep doing in this particular stream, right, is we keep trying to spin the positive on the situation, and then everything we come back to is just, we just keep coming back to a negative, and that's probably where we are as a football club at the moment. When we try and come up with a starting 11, there's negatives, whether it's Varane falling out with the manager, what side Maguire plays, not having a proper left centre-back available at the moment. It just feels like we're just going around in circles a little bit. Is there anything in particular you guys want to talk about for the rest of the stream? Because like I said, we are just going in circles at the moment. Surely Ten Hag has to be sacked with an immediate effect. I think it's unlikely that he gets sacked 5.5 hours before kickoff, but who knows? If Ten Hag can't fix it, I don't know who will. Tell you what, give me the keys to Old Trafford, I'll do it. You guys can come along. Would rather be out of Europe altogether and let the manager use the time on the training pitch. Again, there definitely is that argument. All I can ask is a win and can set off for work knowing we done our part, still keeping positive to stay up at 3 AM to watch this team. VK, I respect that so much that you get up at 3 AM to watch these games. Or you stay up till 3 AM. That's crazy. Especially when the football's this bad. Your last video about our rest defence, is it always bad or is it just sometimes bad? This season, nearly always bad, to be honest with you. A chance Pellistri will start over Anthony, possibly, although I just thought Facundo was completely ineffective in the first game against Alfonso. If Ten Hag ball even exists, I guess Mainoo, De Jong and Felix would be the ideal midfield. Yeah, but that would be bullied off the pitch in the Premier League. But yeah, technically there's a lot of quality there. Pep had a problem with Cancelo, but no one questioned his decisions. That's a good point, actually. And I think it's something which is very true in football. Your decisions look good until you lose games. If Ten Hag had fallen out with Raphael Varane, but we were second in the league right now and going through in the Champions League, no one would be questioning it. It's when things go bad, the questions come out. The lack of modern centre-backs at this club is crazy. Yeah, I don't know if Lisandro Martinez is the only one, but even then, physically, he's not the modern-day centre-back. Maguire physically is a bit closer, but technically not, and also speed-wise, yeah, I would argue we don't have any proper modern-day centre-backs. Ten Hag wants to play out from the back, so he is not starting Varane, but he is playing McTominay. I don't understand. Me neither. I think it contradicts itself. And a term I've used quite a lot recently is tactically confused. I'd love to see a Shaw and Varane at centre-back pairing, but it isn't happening anytime soon. Yeah, quite like that. Maltese, what minute is it in the under-19 game? I might watch a part of it after this. United winning or losing is going to dictate my mood when I show up for work tomorrow. Yeah, I feel like it's like that for a lot of people. Hopefully, though. Hopefully we win. Let's finish with a score prediction for this game. Like I said, I feel like for this particular game, we're just kind of going around in circles. I don't think there's a ton of positivity going into this. So I don't know that there's much to gain, really, or learn from just going around in circles here. So I've enjoyed the chat, though. So let me know your score prediction and also whether you think we'll go through. Because obviously just a win isn't enough. We need a result in the other game. So let me know score prediction, who you think will score the goals, and whether it puts us through or not. Have you ever contemplated why McTominay keeps starting games? Yes, I've had the conversation a lot. It's annoying. We lost Fred and Sabitzer. Those two are much better than McTominay. Tell me why Varane isn't starting. I've tried to, quite a lot. Corey's predictions are usually correct, 4-2 to Bayern. Yeah, hopefully Corey's wrong. I feel like I've said that quite a lot, and he's always right. Corey, do you fancy predicting like 3-2 United or something? That'd be great. And 1-1 Copenhagen. (4-3), 1-0. 4-3 United, 4-2 to Bayern, 3-1 United, 2-1 win, 3-2. If we go through, I'll start believing in a god. Guess you're not too confident. Højlund hat-trick and a Bruno goal, 4-3 United, but we don't go through. That would be a roller coaster. Rasmus and Garnacho to score. If we score first, we can only win. We can win only. Onana can stop us. Yeah, Onana. Please, my friend. Please play like a goalkeeper. That's all I ask for. Please. None of this throwing the ball in your net malarkey. Um, 2-1 United. Højlund and Garnacho. Round 16 versus PSV. Oh, I like it. You've gone one step further with the prediction. 3-2 to United, but we go out. 3-1 to Bayern, says Mark. Kane 2, Musiala 1, Bruno 4 United. We will go through, says someone else. Thank you very much, VK, for the donation. Once again, your support in this stream has been incredible. Thank you so much for the donations and the generosity. Guys, you know the drill. Spam some hearts in chat. I know a couple of my members have left already. Members, if you're still here. Corey, I know you're here. Edwick, you're still here. Spam some love hearts in the chat to say thank you to VK for the donation once again, because he's an absolute legend. I see us winning, but expecting a draw in Europe is a lot to ask for. 3-2, Kane, Højlund, Sane, then Garnacho and McTominay sub and score, but we'll probably end up getting Europa League. See, again, that would be such a roller coaster of emotions. Thank you, Edwick, for the hearts. Thank you very much, VK, for the donation once again. Really do appreciate it. Corey saying it's 4-2 Bayern, but it's 2-2 on the 70th minute. Someone write that down. Someone write that down. VK saying a 2-1 injury time win like 1999. Do we still go through, VK? Do we go through with that result? Or is there going to be a result in the other game which ruins us? Onana last minute header and we go through. Well, I said it will be a script and a half tonight, so maybe that's the one. Have you seen the new Champions League format for next season? What do you think of it? I've seen it, but I can't particularly remember it off the top of my head, but I'll look into it more in the future. I think for today's stream, though, we are going to wrap up there. I think we've covered everything I want to cover. Again, obviously, the vibe's quite negative around United again at the moment, which is understandable. So people aren't as interested in talking about us, you know, watching United content and things like that. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap up the stream there. Thank you guys very much for watching, as always. Again, thank you to those of you which have kind of been quiet and just sat there minding your own business. Thank you to those who have liked the stream. Actually, maybe you can quickly do that before you leave. A quick like would be greatly appreciated. We're on 45 already, though, which is very impressive. Thank you guys very much. Thank you to everyone who has asked questions, answered questions, given your thoughts. VK for the donations, as always. Members, you guys which have renewed your subscriptions, I do greatly appreciate you. And yeah, thank you to everyone. I hope you guys enjoy the match later. We can dream of a situation where we go through. Will we see it or not? Not too sure. We will see. But fingers crossed we get the win. And tomorrow morning I can bring you guys a video how Manchester United went through the Champions League group. Will we see it? Will we not see it? Not too sure. But we can dream. Be positive. You know, if you see a starting 11 which you don't particularly like, don't worry about it. Just get behind the team. Back the team, and we'll just see what happens and react from there. But in terms of today's stream, we are finished. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll catch you guys